How's it going, guys? It's Eclipse here and welcome back to today's World of Tanks console video, and especially the news. So with that being said, there's a brand new premium that's come in today that you can actually pick up. Of course it's a premium, which is a bit unfortunate, but there we go. Wargaming just spamming out these premiums as usual. But there is quite a bit to cover with regards to some of the challenges and stuff that we can get without having to spend money on the game, which is the best kind of content. But unfortunately Wargaming don't necessarily think that. But there we go. We've got special Bastille Day sales. So there's a load of sales regarding the French Bastille Day, hence why we're getting some of the French premium vehicles and some of the French themed events and challenges, that sort of stuff, which is celebrated for the National Day of France. So July 14th. So 5 days, I think it's Sunday, something like that. When people commemorate a key event of the French Revolution, the storming of the Bastille. In terms of the new premium, we'll talk about that first. Since it's in the game, you might want to know exactly what this thing can do if you see it in the game, what its kind of characteristics are, and whether or not you need to be worried when you do see it in the game. So this little French light tank, which is a tier 8 by the way, is what Wargaming say is skill gets you recognised, and showcasing it aboard the French blah 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 will make you the real deal in your World War II battles. Get to know this aggressive vehicle in this article. Gameplay tips. So use the Erak 105 Proto as either an active scout or a support damage dealer. Your gun is extremely powerful for a light tank, and your speed and mobility are also top notch. Combine these two qualities to either reach the best firing position or spot the enemy on the map with a hit and run tactic. So in terms of what they're saying is it's basically good at everything a light tank should be good at, apparently. And when we look at the statistics, you can see that it has a top speed limit of 70.8 kilometers an hour, which puts it up there with some of the other top speed tier 8 vehicles in the game, with a power to weight ratio of 25.5, which is very, very good for a World War II vehicle, playing up to tier 10, of course, and at tier 8, remember. Its alpha damage is 390, which is insanely good for a light tank, with 200 pen, which is mediocre, 250 pen on its premium rounds, which is okay, but nothing spectacular, and playing up against tier 10s, it might not be the best. And then 53mm of HE pen for those waffles, Borsigs, whatever else you come up with against other light tanks, that sort of thing, that deals 480 damage. It's APCR as standard, which is brilliant, with the best kind of round as its premium, heat, and then HE as the kind of third shell. Heat being very, very good against the angled armor, etc. So yeah, works really well. APCR very good for leading shells, especially against other fast-moving vehicles, which are typically lightly armored vehicles. So yeah, both a decent loadout in terms of its ammunition, and although the penetration is fairly low, it's in the same region as some of the other light tanks in the game, so I don't think that there is all too much to be worried about with regards to its pen. Only the alpha damage, 390. This is more than some of the medium tanks at tier 8 get. And although the DPM of this thing is pretty atrocious, 1600 base, with a reload speed of 14 seconds, you're going to find it very difficult to compete with some of the other light tanks, which are reloading for about 200 damage every 5 seconds to 6 seconds-ish, and so they're going to get multiple shots into you as soon as they know that you've fired, which is where the speed is going to come into the equation, hopefully being able to get away. In terms of what this tank actually looks like, from the side profile you can see it looks fairly big, but of course when you jump into the game you'll see exactly how big it is. Armor wise, doesn't have any. It's going to get penned by HE from everyone, and although it looks like it has side skirts, it doesn't actually get any side skirts, which act as spaced armor from what I can see in the armor model, which obviously is a bit of a negative. And because this is actually a very deep French light tank, you can see that from the side profile you're actually able to hit the hull armor, which is one of the benefits of playing in some of the French light tanks that are a lot slimmer, is that you can shoot underneath of them, which doesn't count as damage because there's no armor behind some of the tracks. This one is going to have that problem, whereby if you actually hit any of the side, you're pretty much hitting armor, which means you're not going to end up having those weird shells that end up going underneath the tank or hitting into the ground or going through the tank because there's no armor behind it, going through the tracks, etc. So that should be at least a benefit for those of you playing up against this thing when you do see it in the game. But of course, with being a light tank that is very fast and has a high alpha damage, it can definitely be played very well. But when it comes to traditional light tanks, does it keep up? Well, yes, it has 380 meters of view range, which is pretty good. And for a tier 8 light tank anyway, it's not the best in the game as a tier 8 light tank, but it's up there and should be quite good to actually run around with. Its silver bonus 50%, so nothing spectacular there. Its hit points are pretty bad. 1,000 hit points means that you are going to get 2 tapped by pretty much most tier 10 TDs, if not 1 tapped by some of the TDs in the games, things like Ruthlesses, etc., which I don't see as a balancing mechanic to a vehicle. If you are, being able to be one-shot by quite a few of the tier 10 TDs, and even high roll by a Tyrant, that sort of thing, you can get one shot. I hate that mechanic in the game and being one shot, considering that, if it was realistic, yes, you could be one shot, but that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that this game is an arcade game where multiple people are getting hit multiple times. It's not particularly that realistic. And so having a hit points where you can get one shot by a lot of tanks at tier 10 when you're playing up against them in this light tank is just not fun for the people who are playing around in it, regardless of if the tank itself is a very good tank. Having that low hit points is just a pain. And of course, artillery, if it misses you, is going to take away half of your hit points. So yeah, it's not great when it comes to its hit points. So that is definitely a big negative of the tank itself. And I'm sure when we do the review of this vehicle, that we'll find out whether or not that is a very big issue when it comes to this. So far, I don't think it's going to be horrendous, but it is going to be an issue. And it's definitely going to be that frustrating issue that occasionally you're just going to get hit by a Tyrant in a bush somewhere that you couldn't spot because it's got ridiculous camo, and you're going to lose all your hit points in one shell. And now compare that to a Bulldog, for example, which I believe has somewhere in the region about 1,300 hit points, something like that. Not such a bad issue, but yeah, it's still annoying to have that low hit points. But either way, tank has 8 degrees of gun depression, which is pretty good for a light tank anyway. Not entirely sure what the arc of this thing is. It might get less gun depression over the side or less gun depression over the front. Not entirely sure. Because the tank is quite boxy, it's going to be a bit of a pain to use that gun depression because of the fact that if your front wheel or your front drive wheel actually moves up the slope, you will then end up affecting it quite badly because you're very tall, which is definitely potentially a problem. But most of the time you aren't going to be using this tank in a hold down position, so it shouldn't really matter all too much. And if you get hit, you're going to take damage anyway. So either way, I think this tank looks decent. Accuracy seems to be a balancing feature with a terrible aim time, 2.6 seconds, which will obviously come down quite a lot when you've got all of the run and gun and all of these perks, steady aim, that sort of thing, which should make it much, much better to actually play. But as far as coming up against it, I don't think you have to worry all too much. It is not going to be chunking away tons of your hit points over the course of the battle because of the reload speed, which is nice to see that even though they've given it 390, similar to what you would see with an EOC AMX BIS, which is the tier 6 French light tank, where it has a big gun, but it's not particularly the strongest in the game in terms of longevity when it comes to dealing lots of damage over a course of time. And I think that's what they've gone for here, almost like a tier 8 version, which I think is cool. And I think that that is at least a novel, unique aspect of a light tank that's actually entering into the game. So I think it could be cool to see. It has, of course, got the French Patriotic 24 camo pattern that we can see in the game. The only thing I do say about these camos is, yeah, they look cool, etc. But the problem is that these are all purchasable camos that you have to buy, and they're not adding in a whole lot of cosmetics that are actually free for a lot of people. And I'm not saying that they have to do that. I'm just saying that the amount that we're getting as premiums, but no actual free camos really, other than when they do the big promotional events or part of a season pass, for example. It does mean that it's a bit of a pain. And I also think that if you're going to buy one of these, that you should just have it unlocked on your account forever. If you're purchasing the camo, I think that would be a better way of doing it, rather than purchasing like a voucher for that camo that you can only apply once to a vehicle. I think that would be a better approach to take when it comes to camo and selling it. Talking about selling it, 8,850 gold puts it up there with some of the most expensive light tanks in the game, for a tier 8 at least. So it's going to cost around £30, which I think is still very expensive, and I don't know that I would ever recommend it. It's one of those things where I guess if you want a specific light tank that has this high alpha, then maybe you'd spend the money and you actually want to spend the money on the game. But for those of you on the fence, I would highly recommend waiting until you see some of the other CCs and some of the content creators actually play the tank before making that purchase, because of course it's going to be one of those that is very subjective as to your own playstyle, and it's expensive as well, remember. So yeah, I would hold off purchasing this vehicle until you see what it actually is like in action from some of the other YouTubers and stuff like that. And we'll have a video coming out soon where we showcase off this tank in particular, and I'll give my full opinion on what it's actually like in the game. As far as other content for this week, we have a new commander, which of course is a 3D hero commander, and I wonder if you have to purchase her. Oh yes you do, 3,300 gold, and of course you have to buy that from the store. Once again, this is a missed opportunity, I think, for me, whereby you've got this Bastille Day, you've got a load of challenges and events that are coming alongside, but in terms of like a great opportunity to reward players for their national day, if you're French or whatever, giving out a hero commander that is historically themed would be a great opportunity to at least give back to the players who play your game. And unfortunately, this is just a paid one. Now, you could create two, whereby one is paid, one is free, but I feel like that sort of stuff really does help out the players who are in need of stuff like this. And of course, they don't come along that often. I mean, it's once a year, and so yeah, I mean, even if it was just the same rinse and repeat commander released every single year that people could pick up, it's a commander that people will use. So that's my opinion on that. Challenges and events, we've got the On Track to France. Obviously, French National Day gives you that On Track event. 25% vehicle XP bonus on every tank in World War II, with a 50% discount on silver between tiers 3 and 6, and 30% discount between tiers 7 and 10. This is one of the only opportunities of the year. There are a couple others during the yearly kind of rotation that do offer a 30% discount between tiers 7 and 10. We very rarely ever get a discount greater than that. So if you do want to re-pick up some of the French tanks, or pick up some of the French tanks if you haven't already, then now is a brilliant time to grind them out and pick them up. So I highly recommend doing that if you want some of those in the tech tree. Then we've got the Bastille Day Garage Gear and XP bonus. So this weekend you'll get a 3 times vehicle XP bonus on the very first win of each day with every tank that you play. So you can play a wide variety of different tanks with 3 times XP bonus every day, but of course only when you do win a game, and then you will only get that times 3 XP bonus once per day on that tank. So that's why you want to swap it up with loads of different tanks to get 3 times XP for the entire weekend, basically, as long as you've got enough tanks to do that with. And log in for the first time between Friday the 12th and next Tuesday's server restart. So if you do that, you'll receive 2 pieces of garage gear. So you got Bastogne and Vitz, which is, of course, a little, I guess, sign that you can see in the garage. So it's a nice little addition. This sort of stuff, kind of cool. I like that they're giving it out for free. This sort of stuff, very, very good for generating, I guess, faith with players as to, you know, hey, look, I know we have to maintain some monetary consumption of people and actually get money, otherwise the game doesn't exist. But giving back to the players, especially on like national days where it's supposed to be about celebrating the nation, you don't have to charge for this sort of stuff, which is great. And I think that that is kind of a reward for people who celebrate And of course, most people who aren't from that nation aren't really going to care a whole lot, but it's a nice addition and people can kit out the garage how they want to without having to buy things. But at the same time, if they do want to buy things, they can. Having the option is one of the best things. Special sales, obviously Bastille Day sales are also here. And they are listed here. So all of the French tanks pretty much that are premiums, well, most of them anyway, are available for gold or for free XP. And of course, during this period of time, you can pick them up for a discount, I believe, although maybe you can't. AMX Chaffee 3,800, the Barras 7,600. Doesn't appear like they're actually giving you a discount, which is kind of disappointing, but they are giving you a discount when you pick up multiple of these tanks in a row, and these discounts seem to be okay if you do want the vehicles. For example, all of those light tanks and the Barask, so the Vanguard, the Barask and the Panhard BR 75, you can pick up for 10,000 gold, which, considering, you know, you're splitting the cost of all three of these premiums by or the total cost by 3, it's about 3,600 per premium roughly, which, to be honest with you, is about like £12, £14. So if you feel like you're going to get the use out of it, like these sorts of bundles are probably the best thing to purchase if you're going to purchase premium tanks, because you're essentially getting a free tank for the same price as if you were to buy a brand new one. And so if I spend money on the game, it's always on bundles because they just give you more vehicles, and that is the biggest thing in the game. Of course, you will get a discount if you already own some of these. You'll get your gold value back, but it will be the gold value of the discounted vehicle. So if the vehicle cost 10,000 to buy when you bought it, you will only get 5,000 back because it's at a 50% discount. So just be aware of that. You will still need the gold cost for the rest of it. So although you'll have to have the 10,800, it will save you some money if you own some of these and you just want to pick up one vehicle. Then you've got, of course, the French selection, which gives you the CDC AMX M4 MLE 49, which is a heavy tank. And then you've got the Nomad for 20,200 gold, so sitting around £60, something like that. Very expensive, and for me the CDC is a no-go really for a competitive vehicle, but it's still fun. I enjoyed the tank, but it isn't a competitive vehicle, and unless you're quite experienced at the game, you'll probably find it terrible. The AMX M4, very good heavy tank, but it has been released for free before as part of an earn challenge, so you might want to step away from that just in case it does come away for free anyway, for those of you that don't already have it. And then the Nomad Saumur, yet again, has been released as part of a free vehicle, same with the CDC. So for me, this bundle, it seems like it could be a decent price if you want these vehicles, but they've all been released for free at some point, and typically Wargaming will do a rotation of vehicles that are available for free again during the next couple of years. We'll probably see it again, but if you want them right now, then you could purchase it, but once again, very expensive, and £60 for 3 vehicles in a video game, yeah, I don't think I could ever say that that is worth it. But at the same time, if you do spend the money, it's not a terrible shout. But just remember, they have been released for free, and they could be released for free next month. They could be released for free next week. Not all of them all at once, but you get my drift. They could be. So just be aware of that if you purchase them and an event comes out for them for free, you might be annoyed. So there you go. Then we've got the French Firepower, which comes with the Char Futur 4, AMX Chaffee, and Audace 105, which is the TD, for 16,500 gold. The main gem of this one is the Char Futur 4. This vehicle is worth a ton of money on its own. I think it's like 17,000 gold. So with that being said, if you are after the Char, then it might be worth it getting this. And this AMX Chaffee is really fun to play. I really enjoyed it. It's been buffed to a much better state than it previously was, as well as the Audace is actually quite a fun TD. It's got 390 alpha and works really, really well in the game. Think of it like a Canonian Jagdpanzer, but the French variant with amazing penetration. And yeah, I mean, yet again, if you're buying vehicles on the game, it's a decent price. If you're not buying vehicles on the game, it's not a decent price. And you know, you don't go out of your way to spend money on things like this, is what I'm trying to say. Then you've got the Cold War Agility, so the AMX-13 SS-11 TCA. This is the rocket launching light tank, which you can see here. It's a very, very fun vehicle. I loved playing this thing. It was really enjoyable to play, and yeah, would I recommend it? Maybe. The NM116, yet again, a TD that works really well in the game. It's very competitive, has amazing DPM, and if you've played it in World War II, you know exactly what I'm on about, but it is the post-war, so Cold War Era 1 vehicle. So yeah, 11,000 gold. Is it worth it? It's up to you. I'm not going to comment on them anymore because I'll just say that they're all not worth it. But then we've got touched up, so Intimidator skin for the Panhard EBR. Now, I don't know if Wargaming actually give a list of what it looks like. It looks like they actually did, but I'm not going to go through every single one of the lists to try and find it, and it might not be that they've even actually put it on here. So, oh, maybe they have. I'm sure we can find it, actually. I will do it. There you go. That's the skin. So, there you got this one. And then what else have we got? The Bat Chat. So it appears like this is the other ones of the Winter Warriors, which was released with the Season Pass. And you can see the various different skins for all of the tanks in the game. But once again, there you go. That's what it is. 3,600 gold. I'd quite happily pay that if I really enjoyed these vehicles and found them to be fun. And I think skins and cosmetics are a great way to both monetize and also give that customization to make your tank feel like yours in the game. And if you haven't already and you haven't seen the customization video that we did, I'd highly recommend going and checking that one out. I'll leave it as a link at the end of this video to go and have a look that you can see. And then we have what else have we got? We have the Tank of the Month. So this is the STR-VS1. Not particularly my favorite TD. It's a bit of a weird one, but for $9.99, it's probably one of the best prices you can get for a premium vehicle. And premium days, you get 3 days, you get 850 gold, 10 silver boosters. This is probably the only thing that I usually recommend people to actually purchase if they want a premium tank and the premium tank is decent. So for the price of it, not bad. $9.99, you could buy it for like 2 pints at the pub. If you enjoy the game and you like vehicles like that, then you could go for it. But for me, I wouldn't buy it because I don't like that sort of TD. So if you do, it's a decent price. That's what I'm trying to say. Then we've got weekly sales, so there are a couple of others. So these are Commander XP boosters. I never recommend the low Commander XP boosters. They're just not really worth it, even at a 58% savings. We've got the FE4201 T95E1, which is on sale for 30% off. We've got the 244, so this is the Tier 6 Soviet heavy tank for 4,000 gold, and the KV4 KTTS, all of which I would probably not recommend. The Object 244 is fun, but it's a tier 6 and it's not particularly too dissimilar from what you can get from like a KV85 and stuff like that. So maybe it's just worth buying a KV85 using the tech tree without having to spend money. And then we've got super savings. So we've got custom consumables bundle, we've got camo vouchers, and the Bisonte C45, which is at a 50% discount. All of these are at a 50% discount. So it's up to you whether you want to do that. Yeah, camo vouchers are permanent, by the way, and you'll get 4 of them for the purchase of the bundle, but they don't actually give us the price, which is a bit weird. Premium consumables, I would never recommend actually purchasing premium consumables in the game. It is very, very expensive, and you'd be better off just playing a Cold War premium that you get from a season pass for a couple of games and then just purchasing the equipment that way, as opposed to buying the consumables outright with gold. So that's what I would recommend. The contracts, we've got the Needle AMBT and the Tusk. AMBT's released, it's the premium, and will end on the July 29th. War chests, they've got the war chest, tank war chest, and commander war chest. And then the celebration season is still going on, and the Nemesis still on sale, the Desert Warrior is still on sale, the USA camo set is also still on sale, and we've got some war chests as well. So with that being said, that is pretty much everything that you need to know about this week's news on World of Tanks console. If you've got any questions or queries and you want to comment on what you think of the ERAK 105 Proto, if you have already got it and you've tried it out and tested it, or you've seen it in the game, let me know in the comment section down below, and hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, make sure to like it, and I will see you in the next video. Take a look at the previous video on the updates that should come into the game for a better game.